Hello lovelies, welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is, will the narcissist's new relationship last? And if so, for how long? I think this is a really interesting topic, so let's jump into it. Just quickly, for those of you listening through headphones, I'm very well aware that there is a lot of noise in the background. It's summer at the moment. We've got fans on, we've got cicadas chirping, crickets humming. There's a whole lot of summer sounds going on in the background. So, you know, hopefully it won't be too annoying. Just try and relax and enjoy it. Enjoy the soundscape of Australia in summer. All right, lovely. So let's get down to it. So for a lot of us, you know, when we've either been discarded or we've escaped the narcissist, one of the first things the narcissist has done is pick up new supply. For a lot of us, you know, that kind of totally blindsided us. We didn't see that coming at all. And there's many reasons why. And I've talked about this in previous videos. But whether you were discarded or you escaped, it doesn't really, it doesn't lessen the hurt at seeing how quickly you are replaced. And you're often left wondering, you know, what are they doing, essentially? What are they actually doing? Because on one hand, most of them, well, I know in my particular instance, on one hand, you know, he was asking me to come back, begging me to come back, saying he, you know, that he'd come back in a heartbeat. Literally, his words, I would come back to you in a heartbeat if I would take him back. And yet, as he was saying these words to me, his new supply was waiting in the car for him. So there's a lot of conflicting kind of signals and messages that are taking place in a scenario like that. For me personally, I was paying less attention to what he was saying and more attention to what he was doing. And I knew that the new supply was sitting in the car. So I just kept thinking to myself, this man doesn't love me. If he loved me, there would be no one sitting in the car waiting. So that is what helped me keep walking my walk away from the narcissist. But anyhow, let's get down to it. So they've got this new supply, and you know, a lot of them are flaunting it over social media, or you're hearing about it through other people, or perhaps you've got children and you happen to do weekend exchanges with the new supply, and the narcissist is encouraging the children to call her mummy. You know, there's a whole lot of those kind of games taking place. So the points that I have come up with today, so I've come up with a theory, essentially, of why I think the narcissist is so quick to get into another relationship, and also so quick to essentially replace you and rewrite the script. And what I mean by this is that what's happened in the narcissist's mind, either you've escaped them or they've discarded you, but either way, that in their mind is a failure. It's a failure on their behalf to maintain supply. They weren't expecting you to escape. They weren't you know, expecting for you to go no contact. That is all a failure. So what the narcissist has to do is they have to recreate the false narrative, so this construct that they are creating, that they live by. They create this illusion of who they are, and they put that illusion out into the world. And the way the world interacts with the illusion then tells them that the illusion is real. So when reality collides with their false construct, and as I said, you know, the loving, adoring partner has actually escaped them and is now calling them a domestic violence abuser, that like I said, is the collision between reality and their false construct. So now more than ever, they desperately need to make someone primary supply. They need it to be seen as being a serious and committed relationship. And they'll do that by either getting engaged, getting married, or having a child as soon as possible. They need for the world to see them being in this relationship. They need to have the world see them as being the healthy one, because they need for the world to tell them, no, it isn't you. You're fine, mate, you're fine. It's not you at all. It's just her. There was something wrong with her that she couldn't see just, how loving and loyal and what an awesome top bloke you really were. That's what's going on there. The narcissist's ego and their sense of reality is just so fragile that they need constant reassurance and affirmations and validations from the world and people around them, that they are good people, that everything's okay. So getting back to the new supply. So this is why you'll have moments where you for example, you find out that he's taken her on the exact same first date that he took you on. That's because he's rewriting his story. Okay, because in his mind, that's what romantic couples do. They go on these romantic dinners to these beautiful restaurants, and he doesn't want the memory of the fact that the last person he took there, i.e. you, that things didn't work out, that you don't believe the false construct anymore, that you've seen through him. So in essence, this is what I talk about when I talk about imprinting and embedding. So they are embedding a new person into their false narrative. They've gotten this new supply. They've basically they've swapped you out, essentially. That's what they've done. They've, we're all interchangeable to them. They don't really care about us as individuals as long as we are playing the character role assigned to us. So primary supply has to act a certain way, and that's just the way it is for them. So if you're not acting that way and they've discarded you, well, then they still need to get someone to play that role. So they get the new supply. Hopefully she's playing the role the way they want, and then they can, as I said, recreate the script and the narrative. So they can say, I'm actually a really romantic person, and I do romantic things with my partner because I'm a loving and loyal, and that's who I am. And the accusations of me being a wife basher or a control freak or dominating or manipulating or a liar or a con artist and a thief, those things, they just ignore all of that evidence. They're rewriting a script with themselves as the main character. And this is what they go out and tell the world about. And the new supply doesn't realize. So the new supply has no clue that he's reenacting all the different things that he did with you. He's probably using the exact same words, because it worked with you. And that's another thing, is that they take the lessons that they've learned from each particular situation. They learn what works and what doesn't. They change it up a little bit. They're continually evolving because the reality is that they need fuel to survive. Psychologically, they do not have the strength to survive without other people's adoration, affirmations, and validation. They need people saying, oh, you're such an amazing man. What an amazing lover, and you're just so generous and so funny and so welcoming and warm, and I don't know, whatever, some performance. It's all just an act. This is the reality. It's all just an act. And part of this act is about getting revenge on you. They're basically, as I said, they're showing you, they're saying, look, I'm well and I'm healthy and I'm happy. It's you that's single, but But obviously normal healthy people don't go from one long-term relationship into another one within days, weeks or months. You know, most people who've been in a marriage will probably at least spend at least the first year just getting over it, getting over what they've been through. Some people it takes years, and that's great if people spend that time getting to know themselves and healing, so they don't just do the same stuff again with someone else. You know, same shit, different lounge room. But for the narcissist, they go from one relationship, situationship, straight into another one and think that that's healthy and that that's normal. But as I said, they're getting to stick it to you. They're basically saying that, you know, she's better than you, that you know, that this relationship is better than what you had with him, you know, and that the common denominator here is you. You know, that he's doing really well. Look at him with his new family. And as I said, they'll put it all over, you know, Facebook, social media, whatever. But it's all an illusion. And how long it will last is another fascinating topic, and I have a few theories about this. So I believe that narcissists are creatures of habit. I believe that they will stay in a situationship for as long as they can basically get fuel from it, manipulate, lie, and control the situation. And if they're trying to prove something to ex or former supply, so just say you were married for a decade, I can almost guarantee that their next situationship, if it all goes to plan, like they're hoping, they will do it for at least 10 years and one day, just to spite you. And I'm basing this on my own personal experience because I didn't realize just how much the former supply, I didn't realize how much that all meant. You know, when I met him, when I met the narcissist, it was, you know, he was saying that he was over it. They'd been separated for, you know, years and blah, blah, blah. I had no idea that he had such a yearning to prove to her, and but he did. And I'm seeing it now, as I am now the former supply, witnessing him with the new supply. I can see the exact thing, trying to replace me, trying to do the same things, essentially as a payback, and also to prove that nothing wrong, you know, nothing wrong with me, mate. I'm all good. Yeah, I'm all good. I mean, it's sad, and as I said, it just kind of shows just how interchangeable we are to them. So they'll stay long enough to prove to you that it wasn't them, that it was all you. And the new supply, the reality is that the new supply will be fighting really hard to keep it together, because the narcissist will know what to say. So they will say things like, they'll say, you know, talking about you, they'll say, oh, she doesn't think this is going to work. She doesn't think that, you know, that I really love you, or that I could ever get over her, or something like that. He'd be saying things to her that would make her want to double down and try really hard to make it work. And when the new supply has come in at the end of your relationship, so they knew about you, right? When that's the case, you've got two people who are basically building something based on lies, and that has to be one of the most tragic and sad kind of pairings or couplings that you'll ever get to witness, because it's two people who are lying to themselves, they're lying to each other, and they'll stay in a situation, you know, as long as everyone just keeps playing, you know, keeps the facade up, keeps the game up, keeps the illusion up. As long as no one stops and actually wants to talk about anything or think about anything, you know, kind of anything less than superficial, sorry, anything more than superficial, you know, if that's the case, then if they do want to talk about the real stuff, that's when the issues will come up. So when you have two people that started out as an affair, or like I said, they started out with a new supply and the new supply knew about you, so whether it was a family friend or a work colleague, someone who knew that they were getting involved with someone who was still involved, or who had literally just broken up within days or weeks. So they went into it knowing that you were there and that was a messy situation. Those are the ones, funnily enough, who, like I said, can keep up the facade for quite a long time because they've got something to prove. Now they've got to prove that they're not just messy home wreckers, that they're not just selfish, people who just use and abuse and do whatever the fuck they want. They need to prove. So she needs to prove just as much as he needs to prove that, what they have is real love. That's why they did it. Not just because, she's a codependent, he's a narcissist, one's a user, one needs to be used. The truth of that is just something that neither of them can face. So it's so much more palatable for these types of couplings to buy into this false narrative that it's love, that it was destined. It's funny. It is funny. As I said, they will keep up the lie for as long as it takes. So the point for you, my darling, is to realize that that you've escaped, that you dodged a bullet, that she's what's keeping him away from you right now, and you want her to stay there for as long as it takes for you to get well and truly away. Because often we think, oh, I'm fine, I'm over it, I don't have any feelings for him. But then he turns up on the front door, or, he starts ringing or calling and texting, bringing out the big guns of love and declarations of undying love and that kind of thing. And, it's easier when they're away, is all I'm trying to say. It's a lot easier when they are away and when they are involved with someone else. It's easier to heal yourself than having to deal with them coming and going in and out of your life with their bullshit, with their chaos, with their confusion, which is exactly what they will and do on a regular basis.